All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to your Cardiac Commanders podcast, powered by Livewire Sports Media. On Tuesday, the Commanders released former starter Will Harris and signed OT DJ Humphreys. Now, today is the joint practice between the Commanders and the Ravens, which is going on right now. Dan Quinn did take to the podium to speak to the media about what will be seen today. So let's dive into that real quick. And then later on today, if there's any footage of this joint practice, I will bring it to you and plus other news in the Washington community.
Here, and so thanks to Jesse and the coaches, the whole organization. This is a great organization, so we're pumped to throw a great practice together. As we're heading into it, you'll see, similar to how we had in our joint from Miami, there'll be some one-on-ones, there'll be some red zone work, some team, and then we'll even finish with a 2-minute. So what's important in a joint practice, you want to have a little bit of everything as it goes through. And so it's been great working with Jesse, kind of organizing the day and the practice. And like I said, we're really pumped to get rolling. One adjustment for today, Sam Cosme will be out, so he's sick. So back at the hotel, so he won't be able to participate today. And other than that, ready to get rocking with you guys.
You guys added DJ Humphreys. Why do you want to bring him in?
Yeah, so DJ's somebody that we've stayed connected with over the last couple of years, and so came in yesterday for a workout, looked good, and then we'll give him a chance to get rolling a little bit today, and then a little bit as we get into Friday. And just the depth at tackle made sense to have him come in, proven player and a good player, and so yeah, we're looking forward to having him here.
And we talked about the injuries to some of these guys, whether or not they're here for the regular season. It sounds like there's optimism and all that, and other guys are getting a chance, etc. But what's the level of, I don't know, about concern, or what's the impact of them missing multiple weeks at this time of the year?
Yeah, for sure, concern, John. Like, no doubt about it. It's not ideal when you have missing any time. Just like it would be in the season, I'd be concerned that, boy, if this had only happened in training camp. So it sucks no matter when it happens. But for all the players, like, we've had a good training camp, a lot of reps, a lot of situations, and so with the exception of Nick, he probably had the least of that, and Trey, the other guys had a good bulk, whether they're out or not. So definitely concerned, just like, don't like it, and I want to always see the work to make sure their readiness is there. But I'll assess where it is into next week and then have a better view. Are they ready at the beginning, or is it forward from there? But too early to call. But yeah, there's a concern, but kind of control the things we can and go the best from there.
Dan, what's considered a successful day today?
I think you want to see good execution, both sides. From our offensive side, this is a defense like ours that has pressure, brings it, and so run game on movements and protection on the offensive side. So I want to see clean operation in that way. On the defensive side, same thing. Can we generate pressure? Can we be sudden and violent with our movements to go through it? So that's what I'm looking for in a joint practice. The front seven on both sides really get some of the very best work, and so like their style, how they play offensively and defensively. So excellent test for us. This is a good program, so we're pumped about it, but that's really what you're looking for.
And then Jaden specifically, only 3 preseason snaps in actual games, so how important is today for him?
He's thrown a lot of plays in practice already, and so it's an important day. It's a good day, for him to have new looks, new defenses, and anytime we can challenge him, like he's always up for it, to have different matchups, different defenses, different looks, is valuable. And so it's valuable in that sense, the most. But this guy, he's ready to play football.
What's the most valuable thing you could get out of today as opposed to the preseason game on Friday?
I think it's honestly the comp that goes back and forth. You don't know who's going to be necessarily in the games in the preseason and the matchups. So in this one, you'll see one-on-ones, you'll see matchups, you'll see more offense and defense than you would in a regular preseason game. So it gets heightened in that way of communication and checks and things. That's more on a communication level, similar to a regular season game versus a preseason game.
Especially with no Sam Cosme and some of the question marks around the center position, what do you want to see from the interior offensive linemen today?
Just basically, I want to see the execution. It's a good defense. Like I said, they got a pressure front. They can move, and so see that kind of adjustment. See the calls. Are we targeting right? And so, like I said, there's a lot of guys that have taken a lot of reps. So I'm looking forward to today.
Hey, Coach, what are some of the things that you emphasize to the players today in this joint practice?
I wanted to see really like the execution. That is what I'm looking for as we're getting towards the end of the camp, to say we've put in a lot of time. Let's see some of that execution come to life. I want to see our urgency in and out of the huddle on offense, getting to the line, shifts, motions, the quickness to go through that. Defensively, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of our good disguises. They've got a fantastic quarterback, and so to have some chances to adjust coverage and put it into different things to see. That's what I'm looking for. So it's the on-field play for sure. The effort I'm always looking for. That's always down at the top of the pile. If you get that part right, you can coach through the technique. But then past that, I just want to see like really good execution, from a number of the spots.
How much will today's practice sway what direction you go with the center position?
It's important. I would say it's definitely part of the evaluation, Nikki, ongoing. So we'll get Matt some good work at that today. Julian will work some at the guard today. So in the previous week, we kind of flip-flopped that. And so this week, we'll kind of flip-flop it again, where Julian will play into some guard today and Matt will work mostly at center. So definitely a part of it for sure. And we want to give Matt a look and see what that looks like. Julian's had a good bit of reps, so far. So we'll flip a little bit of that today, and then as we get through tonight, we'll kind of plan in for the game and what that looks like.
And then with at cornerback, with Trey being out most of camp,
Right.
Rizul coming in fairly late, what have you seen from him just in picking up the system and everything?
Yeah, two good veterans that we picked up is Rasul and Fabian. I felt their experience first, Nikki. They have awareness, they have feel. Fabian had some time with Durante, so maybe that came quicker, but early on, Rasul, without the spring, right at the start of it, man, he was able to just like play quickly. Yep, I know that. So he's been one that I've been impressed by. I've watched him play, and so when I had chances to visit with him, we had talked about things that he had done in the past and systems. So he grew up not far from where I did in New Jersey, and so we had some early connection. But just seeing him get into the system, I've been impressed by that. You've seen different guys work inside. You'll see some of that Amik today. You've seen Mikey in there. So there's still some, not posturing, but movements to back and forth to go. And I think that's a good plan by us as you're in this time of camp. Okay, end this. What are the roles? Who's the backup into this spot? And so although they may have not had a lot of experience at some of the spots, it's still really valuable to do it now.
Dan, with the guys you have that are out dealing with some injuries, do any of them factor into what's going to come on Sunday in terms of having to make any decisions about their status?
There's some that have long-term injuries, so we're hoping to get them back at some time. That'd be Laramie and Johnny.
Sure.
So that's the big.
But nobody else is like you can look at.
With Humphreys here, is there any thought to either Scott or Wiley being more inside going forward?
It'd probably be Scott. Wiley, we've played him inside some. He's got so many reps at right tackle. That's where he's most comfortable. So for the last couple weeks, we played him at left just to force it. And like, what a good competitor! Like he was the one. Like I want all the left, and so he'll play more on the right today. But we see for him at the tackle spot, and Trent, more on the inside spaces. So, and then we'll take a good look at DJ today. Some in the game, some with him not having an off season. Like we're not going to go crazy right off the bat with him. We're going to be smart, see where he's at, and make sure we do it right.
The fact that Valor retired, I mean, it was such.
So Dan Quinn pretty much talked about the progress about Jaden. He's ready to get out there and play. He's ready to play some football. He talked about the makeshift of the fluctuation with the offensive line in this in this last preseason game, the difference from what they did in the last game, and then talked about the addition of OJ Humphreys or what he can contribute. Now, don't know if he's going to be able to start or get in or whatever the case may be, but it's going to be what it is. The offensive line is going to be the most critical, most important part of this season for the Washington Commanders. Like they start off with two NFC East teams and one in the Super Bowl team, the Seattle Seahawks. And the thing about it is they're going to have to come out, even if me personally, I feel that the Commanders need to win the first game of the season. If they could win both of their division games, that's great. That is great. That's excellent. But if they don't do that and they potentially go 0-3, it's going to raise a lot of questions. If they go 2-1, hey, okay, you got out of that. You got out of that. But if you Hell, if you go 3-1, that's excellent because nobody would have expected it. But at the end of the day, so the Washington Commanders also on yesterday, like I said, they they did roster moves. They signed outside linebacker Boogie Basham, safety Joshua Bledsoe, and safety Quindell Johnson, along with releasing two safeties Malik Spencer and Will Harris. Placed all outside linebacker Drake Johnson on reserve injury list, and that's why they brought in Boogie Basham to replace him. Now, the Washington Commanders, like I said, they still have a lot of questions to answer, a lot of things that need to be. And I think whatever we see in this last final preseason game on Friday, it's going to highlight how we going to look and what roster cut down, who's going to make the teams, who's going to be able to benefit you. Now, there was a lot of talk on NFL Network this morning. Good Morning Football, that how to watch the Commanders offense is supposed to look. Jaden Daniels is going to be a more under center, but the thing about it, if this offensive line is not good, how much on the center that he's going to be protected, because then the offensive line is going to get pushed into him. He could fumble, he could trip or fall, get require a sack, excuse me, a sack or whatever the case may be. The main thing is that keeping Jaden Daniels healthy is going to be the most important part. Now, they did also talk about the
Do you
OJ
bring him
Duffy.
in here to start? And do you kick Coleman inside to left guard to replace Chris Paul?
That's my first thought.
Is that your best offensive line? I mean, he played a lot of right tackle very early in his career, if I remember correctly. Could that be someone that helps just anchor and push behind Connerly? Maybe this is we don't love what we're getting out of Trent Scott, and we want Wiley to be able to back up both guards. So he's now the swing tackle, the extra tackle that Coleman would have been. There's a lot of different possibilities here because I think Coleman's played well enough. I'm not that worried about Brandon Coleman at left tackle. But maybe they go, you could play Humphreys at left tackle, where he'd been a Pro Bowler back in 2021, 5 years ago. And then you play Brandon Coleman at left guard to replace Chris Paul, and they feel like that's a better offensive line. I will point out that he only started 2 games from what I'm looking at in 2024 and 1 game in 2025 with the Chiefs.
Was a depth guy, yeah,
and
last
the
year.
Raiders, respectively. So he's you got to go back to 23. It's basically been 3 years since he was a full-time starter. So it might just be that he is an upgrade in their minds over like Trent Scott and a tackle, because you're one play away from Coleman being out and needing this guy to play a bunch. Do you want Trent Scott to be your starting left tackle for 6 games or something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thinking.
So looking at the the potentials there, because again, they have a couple guys with some versatility in Wiley who can back up at a couple different spots. I think that's why he's here.
Left tackle would be a stretch, though, right?
It's going to be to me, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this is going to shake out. So actually paying attention to more of this this mischief rotation of the offensive line is going to be very, very telling. And like Dan Quinn said, that with Coleman out and Alligati out, hopefully they could get them back at some point of the season. But right now, we're going to have to find as much depth as possible with it. Now, the Commanders did also brought in some players yesterday. I say Carlos Basham, Joshua, CJ Brown, Demarion Harris, Quindale Johnson, Tysheem Johnson, Derek McClellan, Mike Smith. And all of these is defensive people, defensive ends, defensive backs, linebackers, defensive ends. And all it probably is mainly for depth purposes as well. So, I mean, and the release, I think that with Jeremy Reeves and Quan Martin, who has been impressive. Jeremy Reeves has been a standing player for the Commanders at safety and everything like that. He's probably the long Ron Rivera brought in for a long, long time with this team. But Quan Martin has started to impress a little bit more. His highlights by securing 2 interceptions in the first 2 preseason games has pretty much solidified his role, and then Jeremy Reeves right there. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Joey Porter situation, and it showed the Commanders get him. Now the Commanders get him, then they can move probably. Can they move Trey Amos? Um, I mean, Amik Robinson into the nickel corner spot, you know what I'm saying? And then have Joey Porter on the outside and Mikey Sanders still on the other outside. I think that would be good. Now, Amik Robinson has played well. He, like I said, he pressed in the last preseason game. He got a forced fumble and everything like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Though, should the Commanders go after Joey Porter? What would they give up for the Joey Porter? Who they going to trade for? Knowing that knowing that we need offensive line help, that's what I probably will focus my attention on the most. Now, there's a lot of talk about trading Luke McCaffrey, but I would not get him if you're not going to get somebody that's a starter for the offensive line, and everything like that. So we have to see. But anyway, that's my time and everything like that. This is Watch Commanders, Cardiac Commanders podcast, powered by Live Watch Sports Media. Until the next one, I holla.